copies while they last. Stop the presses.
And now for something completely different.
Are you ready for a little truth? Are we not entertained? Wisdom is the proper use of knowledge and experience. There are no safe spaces here. The truth shall make you free. It's showtime! So you want the truth, but can you handle the truth? Well, here's another fine mess you've gotten us into. Now that's entertainment. Enlighten me a little. What you say is quite logical. And what did we learn? Prepare yourself for a little sensory overload. I came here for the truth. 7 years ago. Stand by to roll show intro. Roll show intro in 3, 2, 1, go.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
Hello, America, family, friends, and listeners all around the planet we call home. This is the Craig L. Hayes Show. I am Craig L. Hayes. Today's date is the 26th of August, 2024. And we've got a what I would consider to be a special guest today, someone that we're doing an interview with. Today is going to be about showbiz again, going into what goes on behind stage, behind the curtains, what we do to put a show on. And I'm going to reach way, way back into our past in Las Vegas, clear into the 1940s and 50s, believe it or not. I'm going to be interviewing a guy that's been around show business in Las Vegas for, well, almost his entire life, and then retired and went on to other things. So the person we're going to be interviewing today is my father, John Hayes, and welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Good, glad to have you here. As we're talking about, this is going to be a little bit about show business. I'm just going to ask you some questions, and you just tell me a little bit about your life experiences in show business. You know, tell me things that you remember. I mean, you know, you're 85 years old, so you saw Las Vegas in a completely different light than anybody else that lives there today, basically. You know, Vegas wasn't, 2.5, 3 million people like it is now. It was back then, it was probably, 20, 30,000 people at the most. A completely different place when you were there as a kid.
The Sahara wasn't even open then. No such place. There's excuse my throat. Roy Rogers was a good friend of my dad's. There's so many people. I lose control of keeping them together.
Well, that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. We're going to start with, as a youth, you weren't born in Las Vegas. You were born in
Idaho.
No, I thought it was Logan, Utah.
Logan, Utah. It's right on the border.
It's getting close up there. So
Logan,
Utah is where you were born.
Correct.
And you lived there till you were about like 4 or 5 years old, right? And then you came down to Vegas. Like in 1941, 42, somewhere in that range.
Well, that I don't remember. We went there and came back in less than a week. And when I was back up there, I don't remember. I remember the trip. It's the day the war ended. And the Second World War ended, and I was going through on a bus with Mom and Pat, and I remember the day because the lady was in the street in Salt Lake City. We'd left Logan and gone through Cedar St. George. That's wrong. We left Logan, took a highway down, went through Salt Lake City, and the lady was out in the street beating at was supposed to be a drum, but it was a tub that I was used to bathing in, and she was using it to beat the drum.
Cheering that the war was over.
And that's the day the world ended. There were people in the streets, just, it was. I look back now and I remember seeing these people and being told what it was. I didn't know what was war ending. Okay, I don't have to go to war.
Yeah.
But that's the day from when we went up there. So we left Logan, went to Las Vegas in 8 hours. And that's where I stayed for, I don't know how long, several weeks, and went back up to Logan. And I met Dad. That was the first time I was aware of my dad. And I remember going in one night from playing outside in Logan, and I remember taking a pull his pants, and he wasn't in them. I said, "That smells like my dad," because he was a smoker.
Oh, okay.
And the next day, we went to Vegas, and that's where we went for 25 years, 40 years. So,
It was well. Yeah, you moved down to out what they used to call Basic, is where you used to live, right? You moved down to Basic first, and that's actually now Henderson, is what they call it.
There was Henderson let's see. I'm trying to remember. Logan, and then we went to Henderson. Oh.
Yeah, that. Like I said, that was around the 45 mark, and your dad, Lee, was a projectionist in Local 720 out of,
Right.
and that's what he did, and at that time, all Local 720 was a projection local.
Correct.
Yeah, and there was a masterpiece on your dad's part of changing Local 720 from a sole projection local into a mixed local, and your dad had the biggest influence on that. And I just want to talk a little bit about that in 1946 and 47. And you tell what you can remember. I don't know, some of the memories have gotten a little bit fadey in over the years, but anything you can remember is what we're trying to do.
They got a lot like me.
Yeah, that's what it happens. You're 85, you're allowed to lose a few memories.
Yippee!
And a few marbles. So,
Yeah.
but what it is about 1946, right on the 46 mark, Bill Wilkerson was building this new hotel that he wanted to build called the Flamingo. And Bugsy Siegel
Was the money.
He was the money, and he pushed Bill Wilkerson out of the Flamingo and took it over, basically.
Yep.
But your dad had an amazing relationship, unbeknownst to him, with Bugsy Siegel.
Correct.
And what did he do for Local 720, Stagehands Local 720? If you want to tell the story.
He made him a business that people couldn't argue with.
Yeah.
He followed the rules of the national organization and ran Local 720 like a fitted union should be of the people.
Yeah. The main thing I want to talk about on that was, though, the day that your dad went in and saw Bugsy Siegel and started Local 720 as a mixed local and had stagehands now by starting the first stagehands contract with the Flamingo Hotel.
Correct.
And Bugsy Siegel signed on and said, sure, we'll let your union, the stagehands, become the lighting and sound technicians and the stage, technicians and all those things, and operate all the entertainment facilities within the hotel.
All the facilities that were built that had union organization was Local 720, and it was Lee Hayes' dad making sure that things were followed, and that there were people against it, which is normal, but men that had been projectionists were back at being projectionists in a mixed local. So it's stayed that way even today.
Yeah, it's one of the bigger mixed locals in the nation now. But that was the beginning, basically, of showbiz in Las Vegas.
That's right.
Showbiz, up until that point, had been basically, a riser in a corner with a guitar player and a singer or a piano player or something like that in a casino. The old saloon type looking thing.
That's correct.
And then, because of your dad and Bugsy Siegel, it turned into a showbiz entertainment capital of the world.
Thanks to the money of Bugsy Siegel and the wherewithal that Lee Hayes had of how a union was supposed to be run and the people who were supposed to be in it became very successful.
Yes. So you were not the only person that benefited from it. Your brothers, I think every one of your brothers worked out of Local 720 at one point or the other, and a couple of them actually retired out of Local 720.
Correct.
And we have to go back and look in time a little bit, and you have to remember that in Las Vegas, you had downtown Las Vegas, which you had the Golden Nugget, you had the Horseshoe, you had a couple places down there, Fremont Street. And those were the old Vegas hotels. The Flamingo was 4 or 5 miles away from that, out on the end of the Las Vegas Boulevard, which was just a dusty old road, going in and out of town, and
part of the freeway.
Yeah, and it was this little place out in the middle of nowhere, basically. If you look at the pictures, it's amazing. They picked that one little spot to build the Flamingo. And
Lee Hayes picked it.
Well, he wanted that as his as an investment. Yeah.
My dad, our dad, took my mother and wanted to show her a piece of land that he wanted to buy, and he had the money in his pocket to buy the land with. And they got there, and it was the Flamingo Hotel that he had to buy the land for. And he was able to keep it under control, that it went to use as a Flamingo Hotel with the projectionists. And there was probably some words spoken, people having their way. And Lee Hayes and Bugsy Siegel had their way because the Flamingo became the first real theater almost in the West, other than maybe California. But Lee Hayes took the money from Bugsy Siegel, and I don't know if Bugsy Siegel said, "Here, go buy that land," but Lee Hayes ended up buying. Well, Bugsy Siegel bought the land, and Dad made it work as a hotel.
Yep. The early days of Las Vegas and the history of showbiz and everything else going on in there.
And Gordon Hayes was the oldest son of Lee Hayes. And when it got into being a town with a main movie set, and there was some shots that were made, shots being movie takes, not actual bullet shots, but Bugsy Siegel and his people helped make things work. And people understand that it will work. Thanks to Bugsy Siegel and Lee Hayes, they made it work.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those things that everybody got a benefit out of an association with one of these guys. You know, and I've always been amazed how many people sit there and say, "Ooh, the mob, they were horrible. They did bad things."
Never.
I had never heard about that. I mean, obviously they had to do some things, but it was never in Las Vegas. They always took care of business outside of Las Vegas.
As far as we know.
Yeah, as far as we know. But at the same time, you know, the mob made money. Everybody who works for the mobs made money. So who was the victim? Unless you tried stealing from them. Okay, well, that just proves you're stupid, and, you know, whatever happened to you because you were stupid. So, yeah, there's a whole different philosophy in Las Vegas on how things work and people's perception. Everyone always thinks, well, the mobs, you know, they had all these guys walking the casino and you know, taking your money from you and stuff like that. No, they didn't have to take your money. You gave them their money.
Some people mailed the money.
Yeah, practically mailed the money. So, no, it's a whole different world there today. It's very corporate right now. Everything is very regulated and controlled, and it's very different. It doesn't have the same vibe as it did back. I remember the vibe when I was a kid in these places. And I'll tell you what, right now, I remember going, and you probably remember it, the employees' kids' Christmas shows
Correct.
they used to do.
Yep.
Now, the hotels put on the most incredible employees' Christmas show for the kids of the employees. I've never seen so many presents and entertainment and food stuff and all kinds of stuff. I mean, what they did for their employees, they took care of their employees. You know, it was very simple.
Yes.
It was. You don't see that now. You see a little bit of it. You know, you see some things that they'll do a little Christmas party for the employees and stuff like that. And I know the place I used to work at the Westgate. They do a lot of that same type of thing. And that's been really good to see. The employees have an employees' kids type party, and then another night is for the adults. You know, for the Christmas season. It's good stuff like that. You know, that just says, hey, we care about our people. You know, we care about who's working for us. We want them to stick around and work for us. So, anyways, what was? I know you. Let me see where we're at here because we have to stop in 5 minutes for the episode 1, and then we'll move on to episode 2 on this. But when we come back in just a few minutes, what I want to do is talk about working with stage sound and equipment and your first paid union call that you went on and what it was, and then talk a little bit about some of those things.
Okay.
So think about that for a second, and we'll come back in just a minute and with episode 2.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.